The Psychology of the Solar Plexus and the Subconscious Mind by Julia Seton, M.D. Chapter 1. The Psychology of the Solar Plexus. There are many ways in which the human mind seeks knowledge, but no matter what pathway it chooses, it comes in the end to the finished product of its search, the unfoldment of perfected harmonious selfhood. There are many people who seek unfoldment along the lines of scientific research, and many who seek it along the lines of philosophy. And then again, there are those to whom all life is simply a system of religion and worship. These lines of research all add their might to the sum total of wisdom. But often after these things have been fully exhausted, we find that there are many things latent within the consciousness, which have not yet been answered. We are dissatisfied, and do what we will, the mind remains disquieted and incomplete in its connections until it is linked with the unfathomed laws of the psychology within itself. Science, from the plane of science, is wonderful and fascinates us with its far-reaching laws of material relationships. Philosophy, from the level of philosophy, is fascinating also and leads us through a labyrinth of conclusions and deductions more or less purposeful. But after a while, all these conclusions connect us with other lines of consciousness, which they reveal but do not interpret. And we find that after the last words of science, philosophy, and religion have been said, there still appear levels of mental and spiritual expression which have not been revealed. Looking at life, then, from the inclusion of a larger spiritual perception, we find that in order to build sublime and lasting interpretations, which will stand the test of time, the human mind is called upon to interpret life not alone as a science, philosophy, or even a religion, but in all these ways linked together psychologically, giving the race the example of life as an art. We cannot know life as an art until we know and include in our conclusions the actions of every phase of human consciousness, both seen and unseen, and then through higher scientific and philosophical training based upon finer psychiatry, the race can come into larger methods for human progress, and through these methods eradicate sin, sickness, poverty, and lack of every nature. In order to know these finer laws of relationship, we must understand not only our own being, but the laws of the universe in which we live. The energy which operates the physical human form is derived from and is a part of the infinite source. It is eternally existent as universal intelligence. This intelligence creates and manifests form in the world in just the degrees of harmony and power that the human instrument is attuned to transmit creative spiritual impulses. Unless all the states of consciousness and their corresponding cell centers are correlated in perfect at-one-ment, the thing called life must take on a perverted form. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Centers of Being. There are two distinct centers of higher action within the human body. One is related to the external world and its laws, and with its handmaiden is responsible for all our physical manifestation, and one which is in union with all the unseen metaphysical forces of the universe, and relates our human life with the wisdom of the ages past and to come. One stands for the manifestation of life revealed, and one is the agent of life concealed. It is only as we teach ourselves through training or through normal development to become master of these two positive centers and secure their continuous cooperation that we become lords of our own condition and set ourselves free from the recognized laws of sin, sickness, pain, and death, and bring our life into its normal expression of peace, power, and divine realization. The first center, and the one which has to do with the revealed life of men, is the cerebrospinal brain and its system of nerves. The physical brain contained in the cranium of the physical body is our great personal lawgiver and takes its place in the world of investigation, science, and intellectual expression of facts. Its sole function is to produce thoughts and to relate us normally to the changing conditions of the everyday life. It is necessary in order to get our true position toward our subject that we remember that the physical brain is divided into two great divisions, viz., the right and the left lobe. In the left lobe are situated many of the higher concept centers. Scientific investigation has not yet determined all the mysteries of this labyrinth of physical expression. Strive as we will to push psychiatry to a finish. Neurologists and psychiatrists are continually confronted by new discoveries. Contention is ever rife among them as to actual function and location of vital centers of the human brain, but they are more and more agreed that the left brain is the controlling power of all the higher human expression, such as memory, imagination, speech, control, and expression. A tumor in the left prefrontal lobe has been known to produce certain symptoms from which scientists have been able to deduce important clinical precepts. Tumors in the right lobe of the brain have settled beyond a doubt the fact that the right lobe centers are of a lower order or function, and the right brain is practically only the handmaiden to the other half of the cerebrum. It is upon this fact that those interested in psychology and metaphysical healing hang their investigation and their faith. The left brain in its function seems to be busy with the higher ideations, while the right lobe is more closely related to the physical body and has more to do with the equalization or cell polarization. It is a sort of watchman to the physical body. It can readily be seen this being true whenever the body becomes diseased and in a disordered condition. The right lobe is not performing some of its functions, and the higher centers must be called into play to assist the body back into the higher expression. The higher centers are called to the rescue, and they pour through the right brain, and from this to the physical body, impulses which make for health and strength. When the brain, through lack of training and lack of power of concentration, loses its power of inhibiting conflicting thoughts and becomes diverse and registers thousands of different ideations, we become incapable of making consciously toward a perfected impulse. Our whole physical body begins to express depolarization. The other vital point which makes for wholeness in union with our higher centers of the physical brain is the solar plexus, or the abdominal brain of the physical body, the great storehouse of universal energy and wisdom. The solar plexus is a large collection of nerve centers, and it forms the great center of nerve-generating energy for the sympathetic nervous system. It is whitish-gray in coloring, very much fenestrated, quite flattened, and is attached to the second and third sacral nerves. It is situated above the middle of the upper border of the pancreas at the right and left of the choletic axis, just opposite the margin of the diaphragm. The sympathetic nerves of the chest and abdomen are fully formed in a fultus, while the brain is only a pulpy mass. This could hardly be an accident on the part of nature. The early formation of this system proves beyond doubt the priority of its functions. The body is nourished and viscera perfected, the bony structure finished without a brain or spinal cord. Children have been born without the presence of a physical brain, the sympathetic carrying on all the work of nourishing and sustaining the body. The absence of the cerebrospinal nerves and brain prevents the normal expression in those cases, for without them, there is no way of registering any expression in the external world. The solar plexus is the home of the ego or the spirit of men. It is the connecting link between man and the infinite, and it is the meeting place of the divinely physical and the physically divine man. From the solar plexus, we receive our visions called faith, and when we register them in the field of consciousness of our physical brain and work them out through scientific human reasoning into tangible expression, they become facts. End of Chapter 2 of The Psychology of the Solar Plexus and Subconscious Mind by Julia Seton, M.D.